It sounds like this sort of slitting saw could do with a regrind. Something's not just cutting right here. I do know that the spindle on the miller is spot on. There's no run out. It could be the bush, the adapter. It could be a little bit out. Maybe some muck on it. I'll have to double check that. But anyway, it's doing the job, so that's the main thing. This shows the piece of steel I've just cut off. It's attached to these two brackets now. Just a piece of angle to fix on one end, and then that'll be used to attach it to the engine frames. I'm making a steam jacket for this cylinder, and that'll have a small leak of steam from a small bore pipe, and this will keep the cylinder hot at all times, and it'll help to stop condensation. I did this on my previous Loco and it worked quite well. You can see the piston. Now this is the cover there, the rear cover. This is before I machined it. This is the boss which I mentioned earlier, which I brazed on, and that fits perfect now. And same with the front cylinder cover. This one needs machining up, obviously, but and then the next job will be drilling the holes for the attachment of the covers to the cylinder body. And I shall be doing that in the dividing head. I think that's going to be the easiest. Now these cylinder covers and the diameter of the flanges on the brake cylinder are all identical, so I should be able to drill all the holes on each cover and each end of the cylinder using the dividing head, and they should match perfectly. I'm just machining up a little bit of hexagon here for the stuffing box. Should be screwed into the stuffing box, and then I'm drilling and reaming it to suit the piston rod, and that's another small job out of the way. As I mentioned earlier, it's not a true stuffing box in that it's not no steam escape, because there'll be no steam behind the piston. It's just really, as I say, to support the piston rod and keep it in line. There's the bits and pieces roughly put together. There's the piston on the rod. There's the little stuffing box I've just made, the adapter to go in the stuffing box, I should say. I shall be grooving out the piston there. I'll be using graphite yarn, which I've always used, and I find it very effective, and it works quite well in this this setup, as I've used it before. Well, I've just got it now set up using this rotary table dividing head setup, which I have. I was going to use my full-size dividing head, but the problem with that, I'm laying it down on the table like this. The clearance between the drill and the top of the chuck is a bit limited, so I'm using this. It gives me more clearance. It's just a matter really now of spotting on to the cover there where I've marked it, just with the centre pot in the correct position, and then I'll just go around with the drill and drill a series of holes, and I'll do this on all the covers and plus both sides of the cylinder. And they should be okay. They should be an exact match. Well, as I mentioned earlier on, the cylinder covers and the flanges on the steam brake cylinder, they're all exact same diameter. So if I drill the holes on one and drill them on the rest of them, they should be all exact, so that when I come to put screws in, they should be perfectly lined up, providing I don't miss a hole when I'm using the dividing head. It's right easy to do if you don't concentrate That's why you need to use a sector plate on a dividing head, so you're going into the correct position each time. You've only got to be one tiny little bit out, and it throws the whole lot out, and you'll have trouble. So it's important to get 6 divisions using this method of rotary table dividing head setup. It's 15 turns with any plate. It doesn't matter which one you use. Ordinary dividing head, it's 5 turns with any plate. Well, we're having no quill. I'm having to just raise the table up and down, and believe it or not, it's quite sensitive. You get used to it. You get the feel. It's as good as the quill, I think, really, once you get used to it. I've never had any problems, even with small diameter drills. I mean, this is no big drill, but you just get used to it. Well, I'm not going to show every hole I drill, just these highlights. Now I'm on the last drill hole there, and I'm going to wind it round, and if my calculations are right and I've done everything correct, it should just go through the previously drilled hole without it touching the sides. Which it has done. So my setup's okay. As I say, you can lose a little bit of concentration right easily and end up misaligning your holes. And there it is. That's the first one done, and it's just a matter now of drilling every other one, cylinder, flanges, and everything, and they'll be all identical, which will make everything a lot easier. I've drilled the other cylinder cover, and now I'm going to put the actual cylinder into the chuck and drill the holes for this. It's exactly the same thing, and hopefully then the cylinder cover should match. Then again, once again, I need to take extra care, because you don't want a hole out of line on the cylinder. That will make things very, very awkward. The last hole on this side. Just the other side to do now, and that will complete the job. So there we are. That's the first side of the cylinder done. Everything looks okay. Just the other side to do now, and that will complete that. Well, I'm just trying the cover there. See how they line up, and they line up perfect. Just a matter of getting them tapped when I finish the other side, and that'll be the job complete. Well, that's the last hole drilled on the opposite flange on the cylinder. Next job now really is just to get them all tapped and get some screws in and see how it all lines up. Tapping all these holes in the cylinder, I just put the whole thing back in the lathe and cleaned up either side of the trunnions. Just make it look a bit tidier. Not really important. There's two steps at either side of the flanges there. That's for the jacket, which I'm going to fit for preheating the cylinder, as I mentioned before. I don't have a spring-loaded guide, spring-loaded centre for taps, so I'm just using my drill chuck. A couple of elastic bands wrapped round the chuck to give it a little bit better grip. Just gently feed down with the quill, and it works quite well. Does this? Use this for years. This method, and it always works. Nothing special really. I'm just going around now all the holes and tapping them. I forgot what size they are. I'm not sure. I think the 5BA or something similar. I can't remember. And when I've got them all tapped, I shall try the end covers and see how they line up, which they should do. It should be okay with it all being done in the dividing head. Now, before I put the piston into the cylinder and the covers on and everything, I'm just making this bracket, which is to be fixed onto the brake shaft on the steam brake cylinder side. This will be fixed permanently on the brake shaft, and opposite another lever which is identical, so that when the piston rod pushes onto this lever, it pushes the other lever forward onto the wheels, pushes the brake blocks onto the wheels. Just a matter now of drilling out and boring everything and then filling it to shape. Really simple really. It's a straightforward outline, just exactly matches what's already on the brake shaft. I've just gone through with a pilot drill and now going through with a larger diameter drill to open it out a bit. And I shall put a boring bar on and bore it out to size to suit the brake shaft. Before I finish boring out, I shall just face down to the width and leave a small circular boss on this for attaching to the brake shaft. It means just facing down gradually till I get the correct width. It's about 1/4 of an inch if I remember rightly. Quite a vicious interrupted cut. That's the general idea there, what I'm trying to achieve. What I've decided to do is not to bore it out with a boring bar, but just drill and ream it. It's a lot quicker and it's nothing special. It just fits on the brake shaft, so drilling and reaming is suitable. I've slowed down the lathe. I'm just going to ream it 5/8 now. I've seen a few people use reamers on steel and they've reamed at the same speed as the drill, which really is a mistake. You should really slow down the RPM when you're reaming. You don't want to be going too fast. So reamer's only cutting on on a small chamfer on edge of the flukes. They can soon get damaged if you're going too higher speed, so you really want to be on a low speed. And ideally for reaming, you should be only leaving 5 or 6 thou-in. That's more than enough. Obviously this is left mooring because the drill I used is just slightly smaller, but really it should have been a little bit closer to size. But anyway, it's reaming okay. There's nothing squeaking or making a noise, so it'll be okay. Bit of coolant on. Another thing that's important when reaming is to make sure that the ream is firmly seated in the tailstock. If not, you can end up reaming part way through and it'll jam. It'll spin in the tailstock. It'll start making a mess of the tailstock taper, and also you'll have a job on getting the reamer out. Sometimes it might mean taking the whole job out and punching the reamer out, which you've got to start again and setting up. What I normally do is just use a rubber hammer and make sure the tailstock locked up and tap it in. I'm just going to check the bore of the little part I've made for the steam brake. I'm just going to check these Bowers internal marks just to make sure that they're calibrated. This is a calibration ring, and they're spot on, them. Absolutely spot on. So we'll just, out of curiosity, just check the bore after it's been reamed with this 5/8 reamer I have. And that's the Bowers 0.625. There, we can just about see it. Well, I'm just checking the bore now with these marks, and it's not important in this bore. It just fits on the brake shaft, and it wants to be reasonably easy to go on. I don't want it tight. It's going to be pinned on, and I need to get it in correct position. If anything, this ream has just reamed it slightly small. It's -1, or just nearly -1. This could be a little bit tight on the shaft, and what I'll have to do probably is just scrape a little bit out, but that's not a problem. I know the shaft is absolutely dead size, so if this is slightly minus, it's not going to go on. That, as I say, that's not a problem. A little bit scraped out, and that'll do it. Well, this is the finished brake lever, all machined up and rounded off. Unfortunately, the video didn't take when I was filming this, so that was a bit unfortunate. But anyway, that's the finished result, which will be pinned to the brake shaft when I get it in the correct position. When the steam brake cylinder is mounted on the frame with its bracket, get everything lined up, and then I can drill it and pin it. Well, this is the brake lever I've just made, finished. It fits on the shaft okay now after I've scraped a little bit out. It's virtually a mirror image of the one below. It works 1-to-1. There'll be a cleavage fitted through the top pinhole there like the one below, and that will be connected to the steam brake, which will be mounted on this area here by a bracket. Now the other side of the frame, where the screw is for the handbrake, there's a slight modification to be done. It's in the form of like a small clutch, dog clutch almost, and that means that when the handbrake is wound off, the way it works is that if the handbrake is off manually and I put the steam brake on, slight movement of the shaft with the steam brake going into the cylinder activates the shaft and puts the brakes on. It's a simple arrangement I used before, and that works very well also. So that's one job to be done. Just milling out the clevis of the piston rod on the brake cylinder, just using a long series spiral end mill there. Top drills just won't reach, they're a bit too short. Be careful with these long series end mills. They're very easy to break, and they're very expensive. And this is actually a Clarkson cutter, so it's good quality. I don't know what the Chinese ones are like. I've never used one, but I should imagine they'll be okay. Trouble is, if you've got quite a lot of backlash in your machine, you need to really make sure everything's tightened, because you can grab it going through a slot like this. You've got a lot of play in your slides. Mine's not too bad. It's fully adjusted, and there's not a right lot of flash. Levy's finished there, rounded bottom there, the cutter. I could put this back in the vise vertically and just put the mill through again, but I'm not going to bother. I'll just file it. It's going to be covered by a lever anyway, so it don't matter. Just screw in the steam brake cylinder bracket to the frames there. And I shall put the mount the cylinder with the other bracket. Use cap screws on the top to attach it to the bracket I've just made. Easier to use cap screws than trying to use small hexagon headed screws. The side of the brake shaft, which is where the handbrake itself is, with a screw and nut, that's going to be modified, and I'm going to modify the actual linkage which connects to the nut. I'm going to mill out either side so it leaves two sections protruding. And then I'm going to make another lever like the one that I've just made on here. I'll make another one of them, but there'll be a slot milled through the middle, so that the lever which I'm modifying, which is being milled at either side, will engage in that slot. And there won't be a right lot of movement, but there'll be enough there so that when you wind down the handbrake, will engage in that slot and put the brake on. With the little bit of play behind, once you release the handbrake, you're off, you move off, and if you decide to use the steam brake, that little bit of play in that slot will engage the pegs, and it will move the lever and put the brake on. And that works very well. It's a bit hard to explain. Once it's engaged like that and the engine stops, you can just apply the handbrake as well. Just screw it back down, and then when you release the steam brake lever, it exhausts the steam to atmosphere, so there's nothing behind the piston, so it's free. You just wind off the handbrake slightly, and the brakes are off. It's a bit, might sound a bit complicated, but it's very simple. But it's very effective, and it does work quite well. So that's one of the next jobs. I will try and show a close up when I've got the assembly done. You can see the clevis there is not finished. It's not rounded off or anything. This was just a trial assembly, and when I'd finished making sure everything were right, I rounded everything off and cleaned it up a little bit. Used a small grub screw underneath there just as a temporary expedient to position the lever, make sure it's in the right place, and then when it's in correct position that will be drilled, and then a tapered pin will be put through to secure it. That's basically how the assembly fits. Well, I'm just setting up this this new lever I've made, which is a replacement for the lever on the handbrake side. What I'm doing now is making sure everything's square and level. I've just marked out everything on the centre line there, and that section there will be milled out. I have a replacement lever here, which it's on the handbrake side, and I've marked it out there, and what I'm going to do is mill either side of this so it leads protruding kind of a peg, 2 pegs, which one will be milled off later. Now this will engage with a bush which I'm going to pin to the brake shaft, and this bush will be slotted out to match the peg which will be left on this lever. And this will work in a way like a dog clutch. On the other side of the link there, with these 2 pieces protruding, which will engage in the push on the brake shaft, which will be slotted out to match the width of these. She'll only be using one of these will be milled off, because if I use 2, sit in the slot on the brake shaft push, it won't work. Engages, it'll just follow the other opposite side, so one will have to be milled off. Well, that's it, mill there. You see 2 pegs there protruding. One of them will be milled off. As I mentioned, I shall only be using one. That's that finished. And now I need to assemble it now on the brake shaft, just to make the other bush with the slot milled out. Now this is the arm what I've remade, and it's got the notches which I've milled out either side of the diameter, and these engage with the slot on the bush which is pinned to the brake shaft. You can see the pin there sticking out. It's a little bit hard to see, but it's free. It can move in that slot ever so slightly like that. So when the steam brake's applied, it takes up that little bit of space there and puts the brake on, and then also allows you to wind off the handbrake itself. It works quite well. It looks a bit complicated and a bit awkward to see, but it does work really well. You don't need that small tap of clutch for it to work properly. There's a little bit better view of it. You can see the gap there. And that just allows the steam brake to come on, and it engages in the slot there and pushes the brake onto the wheels, and the brake blocks onto the wheels. And of course the adjuster I've got on the brake rods, left and right hand thread, I can get real fine adjustment on either side so that the brakes do come on evenly. Well, that's the job done, and hopefully it'll work when I try it out on the steam. I hope you found this of interest, and once again, thank you for watching.